Hey, what is up guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7. It's time for the first weekly challenges of update 1.45, which released yesterday as a bug fix for the Ford GT LM spec test car. Now, in terms of the weekly challenges this week, I would say we're on to a bit of a week to be totally fair. There's not really too much on offer, and it's going to be very luck based in terms of the reward that you're going to get back from the rewards on offer, if that makes sense. It's very much down to the RNG of the roulette system. However, let's have a look at what's on offer for this week for April week 1. As you can see, the first event is a brand new special event, once again featuring the Renault R4 GTL in a one make race. Once again, go for an off-road vibe this time, obviously for the Renault. As you can see, it's going to be a 2-lap race over at Colorado Springs Lake layout, which is basically the only layout in the game. You either have that reverse or in the standard format, I guess. And then we move on to the European Sunday Cup 500 over at the Spa 24-hour layout. Then we have the Nissan GTR Cup over at Dragon Trail Gardens, followed by the Schwarzwald League over at Circuit de St. Croix B, and then we have finally the WTC 900 over at Autopolis International Racing Course. Now, I'm sure this one's actually appeared before in terms of the weekly challenge races, so I don't know if we're kind of getting to the point where we're going to start getting repeating events. In terms of the rewards on offer, for completing one event it's going to be 100,000 credits, for 3 events it's 200,000 credits, and for completing 5 events it's going to be a 5-star roulette ticket reward. Again, very much RNG based and luck based off the roulette wheel. Now, some people are telling me they've had 100,000 credits, other people like myself are actually going to get a pretty nice car reward, so I don't have any complaints, but again, it's going to be very much down to luck based on the rewards you're going to get this week. In terms of the event themselves, the only really good ones this week for me personally are the first one, which is a special event, and the WTC 900. The rest are a little bit throwaway. Now, in terms of event number 1, this is the Colorado Springs Lake in the Renault R4 GTL as a one make. I believe this is the second or third time that we've seen this appear as a special event, so there's nothing for the new cars this week. So let's head over and tackle this race. Now, I did actually really enjoy my time here. In terms of the AI themselves, they do actually have some upgrades on them, so you can't really just go ahead and get the Renault R4, slap dirt tyres on them and expect to be competitive. You will need to add some additional upgrades, as well as obviously the dirt tyres, to be able to enter this event and stay competitive. As usual, we're running on the hardest difficulty setting. In terms of the AI themselves, they're not overly quick. If you go for a fully upgraded build, you will absolutely smash them all over the place. They won't stand a chance. But if you go for a mid-range build like I have here, mainly aiming for the kind of dirt potential of this vehicle, then you will probably have some decent racing. I had a great battle all the way through the entirety of the 2 laps, so overall this event didn't outstay its welcome and stayed competitive throughout the entire race, which is quite nice. Again, a bit of a shame that this one's on the short side. I get that it's a lower powered vehicle and maybe not the most interesting, but I would love to see some kind of miniature dirt endurance races of at least 15 to 30 minutes, and I feel like the Renault R4 in its dirt spec build would be a great potential for that. Overall though, we are going to take tick number 1 for the week, as well as the currency reward for this one. So it's 48,000 credits with the clean race bonus, and obviously with the first tick of the week, it's going to reward us with a 100,000 credit ticket bonus. So overall, with one race down, we're already 148,000 credits in profit, so really not too bad. Now, if you don't actually own the Renault R4, I'm pretty sure it did actually appear just recently in the used car dealership and should be on offer to buy. So again, if you haven't got it, then go ahead and pick that one up to complete the special event. European Sunday Cup 500 next. This is one of the first post-launch events to the game, taking place at the Spa 24-hour layout. Again, for me, it's a total throwaway event, so it's going to be a 2-lap sprint race around there with around about 8 cars on track, so it's not going to be overall crowded, very spread out. In fact, for me, it kind of highlights the original problems with the original events, is the fact that it was massively chase the rabbit, so you would see cars in little groupings, but the leader would be way ahead of you and you'll have to constantly chase them down, which for me is a complete shame. As you can see, by the time we get started, the leader is already away onto the straight and there's already gaps beginning to form between the cars. Now for me it was much worse when the game first released. You'd see that the cars were just much more spread out, especially in events where there isn't as many cars on track. So overall there's only 8 cars to tackle, but because they're so spread out it feels like they are much further apart. In my opinion, it just kind of takes away from the racing, and it's all about just working your way through. So I use the Alfa Romeo here. Again, it's almost at the 500 pp limit, around about 524 or something like that. It's not massively overpowered, and we do have it on the hardest difficulty to try and make it as competitive as possible. But to be honest, if you want to just get this event over and done with, like most people will, then you don't actually have the 500 limit in place. It's very much just there as a recommendation more than it is actually enforced. So you can just go ahead and crack on with this one straight away in a very, very fast car if you do want to get it over and done with. As you can see, I started to take the lead here, pulling away on the straight, past the Alpine and past the Mercedes, and then just never looked back. It was just a case of stretching out that lead and getting the event over and done with. By the time we get to coming across the line, we're already around about 5 seconds up from the car behind, and that is going to be the event over and done with. Probably the weakest event of the week, but that is going to be tick number 2 over and done with. In terms of the payout, again, it does suffer from the early game reward system, where it is only going to be 30,000 credits with that clean race bonus. Since then, we've seen a lot of short events just pay out a lot more than that, so it is a bit of a shame and not really worth your time if you don't want to do all 5. Next up, we have the Nissan GTR Cup over at Dragon Trail Gardens. Now, they have made some changes to these events that some of the older GTR models can now be featured, but during my playtime with this event, I didn't actually see any of the now updated allowed cars actually taking part in this. In terms of the limit as well, it is set at 700 pp limit as a cap. However, I did notice that the majority of the AI, even on the slower, harder difficulty, were very, very slow. So the car here is running on Sport Softs. It's built to around about 650 performance points. It's the 1990 R32 Nismo GTR, and I was able to absolutely walk away with this in no time. Even some of the faster GTRs that you'd expect to see really kind of pushing on forward, some like the Premium Edition or the Nismo R35 GTRs and such, were just crawling around. Nobody seemed to be competitive here. I don't know if it was just an issue with the AI just being very slow at this track, but they seemed far too slow for a 700 pp limit, and the actual cars themselves, they just seem to massively just crawl around the entire time. So I don't think you'll have any difficulty getting this one done. Because it's only 5 laps, it's set out as a typical sprint race, so we're not worrying about tyres, fuel or anything like that. It's all about just the pace of yourself over those 5 laps to take the win. Now, as you're going to see here, I managed to take the lead at the end of lap 2, and that was it. So for me, this event did outstay its welcome. It just seemed to go on far too long. It was just almost kind of, you know, padded out for the sake of it, as by the end of lap 2, obviously, like you're seeing here, we were just done and dusted anyway. So there was no real competition. The AI just seemed incredibly slow for the hardest difficulty. The cars didn't seem to match anywhere near that 700 pp cap. So yeah, bit of a shame there to say we're not even close to the 700 limit, but we did get this event over and done with, and that is going to give us tick number 3 for the week. Again, a fairly overall poor event. 75,000 credits for getting the completion with the clean race bonus for this one, and that is also going to give us our 4-star roulette ticket for our daily driving marathon, and the 200,000 credits for the 3-star tick reward. So in terms of the 4th race, which we're going to see next, it is actually going to be a bit of a step up from those 2 races. However, it's still not really a standout. It's actually the Schwarzwald League once again, this time at St. Croix B layout. In terms of the overall event, it's going to be 4 laps in a sprint style format, mainly featuring German road cars. There is going to be a PP limit in place, which is 700 PP, which we are going to basically match by around about 69984 or something like that on the Porsche that we're going to be using. However, again, it suffers from the issue that the AI themselves don't seem to be matching that 700 limit that's actually in place. A lot of them are fairly standard road cars without any real upgrades on them. So unfortunately, again, it suffers from the same problem as the GTR Cup, that it is just far too easy, and then in the end ends up outstaying its welcome as you end up just pushing forward very, very quickly. Again, if they're going to introduce a PP limit cap, in my opinion, they need to be making sure that the AI is as competitive as it can possibly be, as the majority of them here, even the faster cars like this Carrera, are just nowhere near what you'd expect of a 700 PP limit. So unfortunately, if you are running the harder difficulties and you do want to make it as competitive as possible, I would actually recommend more 600 to 620 if you want to have competition throughout this race. If not, you're probably going to close that gap down very quickly, and you're probably going to have this event over and done with in almost no time. Now, the Porsche that I'm running here really isn't the best car for this track. It's very much set out for Le Mans, very low downforce, so it does have good straight line speed, but through the twistier sections, it should really have been losing time, and it just wasn't. So, as you can see, by the end of lap 1 going on to 2, we're already up to P4 and pushing on to the final bit of the gap that is going to take us into P1. A few more moves at the bridge and we're going to be able to get ourselves up into P2 past the BMW and chasing down the AMG, which is currently running at front with around about a 4 to 5 second gap to the rest of the field. Again, because of the low downforce, this is really where our advantage is. We're going to run in the slipstream, get the overtake done, and that is going to be it. So halfway through the event, not even that, and we are pretty much done with having competition in the race. In the end, it was a 32-second gap, which is just absolutely ridiculous for a 700 pp limit and the hardest difficulty. So a massive shame there, but we are going to take away 120,000 credits with the clean race bonus from this event. Now, I've been talking about these events being far too easy, but last up is actually going to be one of the trickier events. I would say this is right up there with the likes of the Daytona Group 1 prototype event and the St. Croix one, where that the AI are just unbelievably quick and almost godlike because of where their position is compared to you when the race starts. This is a WTC 900. Now, if you go for that 900 limit, to be honest, you're going to have some very, very good competition with bunches of different strategies available to you. Now, I went for the Toyota GT1, probably not the best car around here, even with full downforce, it is lacking in comparison to the GT500s. But again, if you do want to go overpowered, you pretty much can. You can go for a Group 1, zero stop it and absolutely walk away from it. But I did want the competition, and competition is what I got. Like I mentioned, the Toyota GT1 really isn't the strongest car around this track at all. Even with the downforce turned up, it did seem like the GT500 machines that are mainly racing in this race just had an advantage almost everywhere. The only place we could really pull back any time was on the straights, and where we could absolutely open the car up and push it to its limit towards top speed. Apart from that, we were really struggling. We just didn't have the downforce to keep up with the likes of the GT500s, and it was all about just trying to push through and get into P3. Again, I'm not really aiming for P1 here. Where it starts the front running cars, they are massively ahead. Again, it just suffers from that chase the rabbit syndrome that this game suffers from. Now I'm going to pit here at the end of lap 6 going on to lap 7. I'm going to take another set of softs. They shouldn't wear off as much, and we're also going to begin to fill the car. Now I'm going to take a slight bit of extra fuel just to ensure that it doesn't completely burn away. There's sometimes when you fill up to the little diamond notch, you will notice that you won't have enough fuel towards the end of the race. Now, another downside to this car is the fact that it does drink fuel a lot more than the GT500 machines as well. You will notice that their pit stops are very, very random. Some of them will begin to pit at the midway point, some may pit around about lap 6 or 7, and some might not even pit at all or will pit on lap 9 or 10. So as you can see here, we're going on to the final lap and we're only just making it to P3 as one of the final pitters stop. The other two cars up ahead just didn't choose to pit and managed to massively push on in the event. As you can see, we're still 20 seconds back. Again, keep your eye on the weather radar. We did, but the rain didn't come down until we crossed the line, so unfortunately we couldn't bring that into play. We end up with a P3, but we do get our final tick of the week. Unfortunately, with the clean race bonus, we're only taking away 90,000 credits from this one. However, we do get the 5-star roulette ticket reward, which is the final reward of the 5 ticks. So all of the rewards that we've got during this driving marathon, we're going to open up. So we've got the 4-star, which is the daily marathon reward. Now in terms of this one, I'm not expecting much. As you can see, it's just mainly parts. There's an engine swap there as well. And obviously a dealership invite. This one's going to be for Citroen. I believe I actually already have one running currently. So again, that's not really, anything for me. And to be honest, I do own all the invite cars. Then we're going to add the 100,000 credit ticket to the reward, as well as a 200,000 credit ticket. And then we're going to open up what is supposed to be the main reward of the week, and unfortunately this is where the RNG takes over and it is going to be completely random. As you can see, there is some good rewards as well as some bad, so we have a few minor cash ones, cars, and 500,000 credits. We are actually going to end up with probably the better reward of the lot. This is the Jaguar VGT SV. This is a car worth 1 million credits, so I can't complain there, and I can just go ahead and sell it on. that is it for the weekly challenge races. I would definitely say this is a weaker week overall. I can't really say that it's been that enjoyable to get these ones completed, but it is nice to just have those extra awards rolling in. Let me know what you got on your 5-star roulette ticket, and a big thank you to all of my channel members listed on screen now. I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Peace.